Are you on the list? No. But I believe my friends are. Perhaps you know them. Franklin, Grant, and Jackson.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Multiverse Fancast. Don't forget, if you guys are listening to us on the go, you can find us on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, basically anywhere you get your podcasts. You can also find more of our content on our website, themisfitfaction.com. There you find links to not only this show, but some of our other shows like Cinematic Adventures and MF Uncensored. As always, I'm one of your hosts, Paul. With me in the studio is Ronnie. Ronnie, how are you today?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm doing all right. Thanks for asking. And we do have some special guests from YouTube. We have BlindBat8719 himself, Mr. Brennan. Brennan, how are you today?
I'm doing wonderful, Paul. Ronnie, how you doing as well?
Doing great.
Awesome. Good.
Just answered. Terrible co-host. But anyway, and also from Cinematic Adventures and Your Mom's Diary, Sean.
Oh, thank you.
Sean, how are you today?
Oh, I'm just wonderful. It's great. Thanks for having me, guys.
I didn't have a choice. You guys
I'm
have
doing
not.
great too. Thanks, Sean.
You guys have not.
Thank you for having me. How are you doing?
Can you guys leave my house? But anyway, we're back and we're excited. We have a couple of topics that we're going to go over today, but we're also going to be focusing on the Jim Carrey quote unquote masterpiece because, spoiler alert, not everybody in this room is a big fan of Jim Carrey. And it's one person who we're not going to like at the end of the episode. But we're going to be talking about The Mask and its terrible, terrible sequel, because why would we not talk about a terrible sequel when Madam Web just bombed so hard that it probably out Morbius itself? But we're going to get to that. So let's start off. Before we get into The Mask and Son of the Mask, we're going to do some news. We're going to do some trailers. We're going to do just a little bit of catch up because, you know, we've been a little MIA lately, and it's not Ronnie's fault, but it's Ronnie's fault. Anyway, hey. So let's start off with something that Ronnie's going to be super excited to talk about, and that is we finally, at time of recording, it's been out for a little while, but we finally got our trailer for Deadpool 3, or Deadpool and Wolverine as it is called. Ronnie, give us your thoughts on Deadpool 3.
I'm so excited.
He's so excited.
I'm so excited.
So excited.
I can't wait. It does look fantastic. See what I did there?
No.
Oh, no.
No. Do you know what's really exciting about switching over to YouTube? Like, comment, subscribe. Now you can
see your face.
my reaction to all of your shenanigans.
Paul's face is going to become memes.
Like that one there.
Oh, I'm gonna just focus on the main camera sometimes. I'm just like Jim in the office, like just shaking my head. But in all honesty, if Ronnie was a superhero, his name would probably be Shenanigans.
Shenanigans.
I think that'd be
Captain
good.
Shenanigans?
No, just
Or
Shenanigans.
Sergeant Shenanigans.
No, I don't want alliteration right now. Captain Deadpool. Anyway, so really though,
But
thoughts
no,
on
seriously, it does look really good. I am excited for it. I don't want too much though. Like I'm hoping like
do less.
Do less,
But
but
more.
do more.
You gotta do a little bit more than that.
But no, I'm saying like with the trailers, like don't show us too much. I want to be surprised about everything. Like how does Wolverine get there, and you know why is this happening and everything? How do we end up with Bollywood Deadpool? You know.
Yes, this movie, from what we saw a bunch of like set photos that leaked,
Yeah.
which was fine, and then Ryan Reynolds kind of poked fun at it. Then we got some basic information. We do know that Deadpool is going to be traveling the multiverse.
Yeah.
You know, he's looking for Prime Wolverine.
Yeah.
is the concept, and it's basically the two of them going through the multiverse. I want surprises. I want things that we don't expect. Like the trailer showed a couple of things. Like it showed the kid who played Pyro's back in it.
Yep.
As old man Pyro, basically. It showed a couple of other things. Obviously, the TVA from Loki's going to be heavily involved, which makes sense given the end of Deadpool 2,
Yeah.
which is continuity because the trailer shows all of these people alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. I really want to see what they have to do with it, and where is it going to affect the greater MCU? Because he even says in it, he's like, I'm the MCU Jesus or
Yes.
something like that. I'm like,
Yeah.
the trailer alone, it makes you wonder how much of it is actually in the movie.
Yeah.
Because they poke fun at Disney immediately in the trailer,
Uh-huh.
and they get away with some stuff in that trailer. It's kind of
Yeah.
But Brendan, what are your thoughts on Deadpool 3's trailer?
I thought it was enjoyable. It was a great thing to watch during, well, actually being told about it on the Super Bowl to then go to YouTube to watch the trailer. But no, I was excited for it. I'm afraid of the homework I have to do because I haven't seen season 2 of Loki, which seems to me most might be required viewing before I see the movie per se. I'm excited to see, Hugh Jackman in the iconic yellow suit for Wolverine. And I know going to a Deadpool movie, it's going to be funny and it's going to be exciting. It's going to have a lot of action. So I am looking forward to seeing this. I think the only hang up I heard to be interesting is that like because Ryan Reynolds likes to ad lib so much, and this was filmed during the writer's strike, I believe like technically he wasn't really allowed to ad lib because that counts as writing, I think. So it'd be interesting to see how much of like the script that he had basically just followed whatever was on the script at the time because they couldn't make changes to it because of the writer's strike. That's what they got. So I'm interested to see how much less ad libs we're going to get out of this.
Yeah. My biggest fear actually before I go over to Sean was that they were going to Disneyfy it. And I know that Ryan Reynolds came out immediately. He was like, that's not the case. We are not Disneyfying any of it. But when it comes to like the writing, and that was my bigger fear was like, are they going to still allow the Deadpool isms and the Deadpool style into this new? And it looks like they're still keeping in touch with it.
Yeah.
Sean, what did you think?
I enjoyed it. I am looking forward to this movie. I like the first two Deadpool movies, and again, the fact that they got Hugh Jackman to come back, their fake hatred of each other, I think, is just hysterical.
It's the best.
I hope it's better between the two of them than I thought it was between Josh Brolin and Ryan Reynolds. Like, I want Hugh Jackman to. I know the character of Wolverine's not funny, but I kind of want some humor from him. I want the back and forth there to be there.
Yeah,
but. I'm interested to see how many more trailers we get. Are they going to show Wolverine, or are we just going to be surprised when the movie comes? We know what he looks like, but are they going to give away too much? What are they going to do? That'll be the key. But I am looking forward to it. I mean, don't get me wrong; it's gonna be a lot of fun viewing that movie.
All right, so we're gonna go around really quick. I'll give everybody a couple of seconds to think about it after I say it. What? Did you say 7?
Yeah.
What's in the box?
Oh no.
One cameo in this movie, in Deadpool 3, that you want more than anything in the world. It could be a character that's alive, dead, alternate versions, etc., etc. I would.
That's tough. What
I
character
know.
hasn't made a cameo. It
doesn't have to be like that specific. Like just any character that you want to interact with Deadpool and Wolverine and or whatever it is. I'm gonna say I want to see a Spider-Man cameo in this movie. He is the one character that doesn't cameo in any of these movies because he can't really. It's the whole Sony and this and that. I would love to see
which Spider-Man.
Tom Holland Spider-Man with Ryan Reynolds Deadpool, especially the way they are in the comics. It'd be fantastic. Ronnie,
Captain America.
That'd be fun.
Like I'm talking. Obviously, Chris Evans, Captain America.
After Free Guy, it seems like it'd be a real possibility.
Yeah, just because Captain America is so straight-laced and like conservative and everything. And then you have, Deadpool's the complete opposite with his mouth, Mark with the mouth. So I think just like him with, cursing and like the jokes and like how awkward it would be for like that Captain America that we were, towards the end of seeing Chris Evans Captain America, he loosened up a little bit. But like the beginning where he's so straight-laced, like I think like that dynamic would be funny.
Well, I would love it if when he first goes into the MCU, he can't curse. Kind of like, you ever see The Good Place?
Yes.
Where like instead of the F word, they say fork and they can't help themselves. It just comes out that way. I think something like that'd be fun.
Yeah.
Obviously, bleeps would be a lot of fun. We just watched the Scott Pilgrim animated thing and, Julie with her bleeps. But for me, like, I think that'd be a lot of fun. Brendan, did you have a cameo in mind?
Probably nothing super original. I think I would either say somebody like a fan casting thing. I've heard people like, oh, Tom Cruise as Tony Stark would be interesting.
One of those alternate ones.
Or I feel like maybe a callback to like the original X-Men, like Toad. Like who remembers Toad for the most part?
That guy looks like Darth Maul. It's so weird. Shawnee?
This is a tough one because again, we're in the era of just all these nostalgic characters making comebacks in movies. So it's kind of tough to decide who I would want to see. I'm trying to think who I haven't seen in a movie. And I think like the Hulk would be an interesting cameo in this movie. Like if you could get Deadpool versus the Hulk, I think that would be funny. If you could get Edward Norton to do it, that would be insane. Or you know what, Eric Bana.
Ooh,
Eric Bana Hulk, which again, just for shits and giggles, I think that'd be funny.
And it kind of works with like the history with Hulk has with Wolverine as well. Yeah. I'm looking at Sean's room at the whole
my room.
comic he has.
Paul's room.
Paul's room. Crap. I've misplaced
Where am I?
myself.
What's here?
Sean and I haven't been roommates in a long time.
I'm gonna go to my bed. I'm gonna go to sleep.
My wife's upstairs. Please don't.
You have a guest room.
I do have a guest room. But anyway, so going down our list of topics, we also had a new trailer for X-Men 97 finally released. And it gave us a vibe of what the trailer is going to look like. And you know what the biggest complaint people are having is Wolverine's voice.
I thought it was Rogue's ass.
I didn't want to say it, but yes. The very famous shot of Rogue in front of Apocalypse. And it's funny because I started rewatching the show and all of these characters, and this is a comic book thing. This isn't just the women. Every comic book character in history is always overly defined in some capacity. The men tend to be exceptionally ripped no matter what.
They're
and
pizzas.
What?
They're pizzas.
They're pizzas?
Yes.
Oh, because they're triangles?
'Cause they're
Yeah,
triangles,
okay.
yeah.
All right. I got you.
It's the Greek ideal.
Oh, now I want pizza. That's why I don't look like that. Now I want pizza. But it's also like the women tend to be very
Curvaceous.
we'll go with. And Rogue was the example in terms of the memes. And apparently now they took away some of the curves. But there are a couple of things that people are not annoyed about, but discussing at least. So one is the redesign of Rogue. Morph also got a redesign, and now they've determined that he's completely non-binary, which it doesn't bother me. Like it makes sense for a character that can shapeshift.
Yeah.
Mystique was like that in the comics too for a long time, where she was bisexual, which whatever.
Yeah.
And then there was the Wolverine voice. Now it's the same actor, but it's 30 years later.
30 years later.
Come on.
He's got to stop smoking.
No. The fact that we got the same voice actors to come back is awesome. And then otherwise, just a couple of character redesigns. The animation's a little bit crisper. It's funny because rewatching the show, there are a lot of times where like you'll see like Magneto and it's a still shot of him with his hand, but like the energy waves are coming out so they could save on the animation.
Yeah.
So Magneto's just like standing there, not moving, and is like just the energy waves are coming out. But I'm looking forward to it. I hope it opens the door to like Spider-Man coming back because that was in the same universe, Spider-Man and X-Men. But Ronnie, what were your thoughts on the X-Men 97 trailer if you saw it?
I did see it actually.
Okay, you had a busy weekend.
I did actually, but no. Again, it does hyping it up a little bit, but it's also like, is it really needed? Do we really need this, especially since they're starting to expand the MCU into the mutant verse and everything? But I guess you do what you gotta do to make some money since Disney's not.
Well, also, like I just watched the Marvels and obviously Multiverse of Madness. They are leaning way more into the X-Men from the animated show, like whether it's bringing in the song or the looks or all these things. Wolverine's new costume. Professor X finally got his golden wheelchair.
Yeah.
Hank McCoy looks a lot more cartoon beast, even though it's still Kelsey Grammer. So they're really leaning into it. And I think that they're using that a little too much. Like it was fun the first time. And I was like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
But they got to figure out what they're going to do with the X-Men in the MCU as like the permanent stay. Because I don't need more of the Bryan Singer type universe.
Yeah.
Or the animated. Make it its own thing.
I would hope that they come up with a happy medium between the two, because again, if you're just going to copy what we've had in the past, then what's the point?
Right.
Yeah.
So I agree. I'm intrigued. I'm surprised they're doing this, being that we know the X-Men are coming in the MCU, like they're gonna happen.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of surprised they decided to expand to continue on with this show. I'm assuming it's more because of was this a fan thing that people were clamoring?
I'm sure there
for?
was a fan push for it, and in all honesty, I'm sure they probably also looked at the numbers on Disney Plus when they released X-Men. Like, who knows? There's probably a trillion factors that go into something like this.
But as you said, it's interesting to watch the trailer and you're like, wow, this is just so much crisper and cleaner versus the original cartoon show, which is wonky and it's definitely low budget, but they definitely cleaned it up.
Well, Ronnie and I just did an episode on the X-Men animated series and X-Men Evolution and Spectacular Spider-Man versus Spider-Man. It was a lot of fun, and I would love to see X-Men Evolution come back. But Brennan, what were your thoughts on the 97 trailer?
I'm excited for it. I think it's pretty cool. Actually got me restarting to rewatch the series again to kind of refresh myself.
Yeah, same.
But my issue with the animation, I feel like it's a little too crisp, a little like they streamlined it a little too much. I wish they had more of that 90s feel to it. But again, I also could just be medium, because back in the day, they probably were more on pen on paper, whereas this is all digital.
Yeah.
So I think that's why it has that certain look to it. And again, to your point, like again, also with the '90s, we were when we watched it in the '90s, is that show is based off of a lot of Jim Lee design, a lot of Jim Lee, I think, storylines that were going on at the time. Or I'm sorry if he wasn't the writer at the time for some of those things, but that's what it was. What I think was made special is that we were watching, you saw it in the comic books, and then like a few months later, whatnot, or a year later, you saw it actually in the cartoon show. I think that. I mean, the other thing they pointed out too is that some of the voice actors have been repurposed because I think the guy who used to play Gambit is now playing Cable now. So there was some of that, so which I thought was odd, but maybe why shuffle around? But I feel like they have their reasons for it, and they might also be why they're doing this. Instead of doing a new show going on, they are probably playing a little bit on the nostalgia, but they might have also seen that, like in the comic side of things, I think like on DC, like they did like Batman '89, they did a comic book continuation of that where they're playing in that universe, but in a different medium. So I think they're trying something where like, well, why can't we do that with animation?
I mean, they have the rights. They have like, and it's going to bring people to Disney Plus. Like, granted, I don't know what Disney Plus's drop off numbers have been like. Because all these streaming networks are really starting to take a toll. Like,
well, because they're all hammering down on the password sharing. All of them are Hulu, Disney Plus. They're really cracking down on it.
They're all adding ads now.
I don't consider it a negative. Maybe you guys disagree with me, but I've heard a lot of feedback about Disney Plus, and the reason why people don't like it is because there's just so much to choose from. Unlike Netflix and other streamers, they don't pull anything off of Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Like they keep everything on it. So I will always stand by. I love Disney Plus because I can just go and be like, oh, I'm going to go watch, the Disney Robin Hood, or I'm going to go watch this, so that I like. But
I could see why people feel that way because it doesn't change up as much.
Yeah.
And there's no sense of urgency to watch something on there.
Yeah.
But I do agree with Sean. I like having just that.
Yeah.
It's like having a DVD case of all these movies, just
all your
right
childhood, stuff. And there's rumors that Disney Plus is going to, merge with Hulu and all that stuff. And
I would prefer it at this point. Just one. I look at my banking statements. It's like at least four different streamers.
Bundle it with ESPN.
Well, my parents have the bundle. Fun fact, which is not even offered anymore. They don't even offer the ESPN, Hulu, Disney Plus bundle. It's like you have your I think Hulu by itself, Hulu with no ads, Disney Plus with ads. It's crazy.
Well, we started watching the Ted series. The first episode was fantastic, and we debated getting like the actual paid Peacock or Peacock. Yeah, Peacock. But we were like, do we want to pay $5? Like that's where we are with all these streamers. That $5 is the make or break.
Why can't they just all combine into one big streaming network where you pay like $70 a month?
They'll never
do
like
cable.
They're doing that with sports. They're doing that with sports.
Yeah.
They're creating a major sports streaming app.
Sports.
Something like that.
But
I'm saying, I mean.
Well, I was going to. Sorry. Do I want to get back to at least with your talking about the Springer, the Brian Springer X-Men? I want us to bring it back to the costumes and whatnot a little bit. I did want to touch on also that I hope that what they'll do is just make brighter versions. I actually do. I think that's why they're trying to focus on the X-Men. Remind people, hey, these were the iconic costumes that we can now do these in actual real life stuff.
No, I agree, and I think Deadpool. The way Wolverine looks in that. I mean, it's gonna throw a lot of people, but you're like, that's not how X-Men. That's not how Wolverine's supposed to look.
And I think it's a very good interpretation of the Wolverine's costume's tough to do. Like even I have, like Brennan pointed out, in my room I have hanging up the first appearance of Wolverine and the Incredible Hulk, and imagine that costume in real life. Like it just wouldn't work.
So okay, real quick, I'm just curious here. When they finally do the X-Men in the MCU and they cast it, do you want a shorter actor to play Wolverine?
Yes.
I want Daniel Radcliffe.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
No.
He's a good actor.
He's a great actor, but I will never be able to differentiate it in my mind. As much as I love, what was the show that he was on?
Miracle Workers.
I love Miracle Workers, and I watched all the seasons. I could not see him as Wolverine, even though he got jacked. Good for him.
But wait, who's the guy? Who's the main? Who's the main character in the bear again? The main actor is Michael Allen?
Jeremy Allen.
Jeremy Allen. How about that? As you want to, wouldn't he be a good alternative then? If you don't want the,
I don't think he'd be a good Cyclops.
Cyclops needs to be tall and like
he needs to be very Chris Evans-y, Captain America type.
I was it John Glenn? Is that his name? Not the astronaut, but the guy from Top Gun that was the Hangman.
Oh, I could see that.
That might be a good Cyclops type character.
That'd be a good one. Anyway, all right. So speaking of casting, we have officially casting news. The Fantastic Four long rumored casting choices have been confirmed. We have Pedro Pascal.
Oh.
I know. Vanessa Kirby.
Okay.
And then who are the other two?
Joseph Quinn.
Quinn from Stranger Things
And
played
then-
Eddie, and then I don't know his name.
Evan Moss Backrack, I think is how you
From
pronounce
The
the last
Bear.
name.
Mr. Bacharach.
from
From The Bear.
Bacharach.
Cousin.
Yeah. So Pedro Pascal was long in the rumor mill about this, and it was something that when we first heard about it, we were all kind of like, all right, like we like Pedro Pascal, but we were talking off air that he's a little too old.
Yeah.
He's getting rammed down everybody's throats and not in a fun way. And like I loved The Last of Us and I loved The Mandalorian, but I would have much rather somebody younger, like start the franchise off like fresh.
That's the key.
Somebody-
When is this? When are this going to be an origin story? Are we going to see? Are they going to be the Fantastic Four when this
I don't
movie
know,
starts?
but-
I would rather
still.
they were just
Yeah.
be the
I
Fantastic
just-
Four.
when you think of Reed Richards, that is not someone you picture.
No, he does not fit
You
the
know,
stereotype.
he does not fit the look of tall, lanky, nerdy kind of look.
Yeah.
You know, he doesn't look like he would be, you know, a doctor. You know, like
It's
like-
the fan casting obviously has been John Krasinski for this whole time. We got to see it,
like
but
his look.
yeah,
Yes. Obviously now we can't have it.
Yeah.
He would have been a great choice for it, even though he is a little bit on the older side, but not old looking.
Mhm.
Mhm.
But somebody that looks kind of like that is what you should go for. Like to me, Pedro Pascal is like, not that he's.
He would have been a better Thing.
I was gonna say, yeah, he's got like that more like
That gruffness
thicker,
to
like
him.
rough. Yeah, you know.
yeah.
So I don't know.
It was a surprise. I'm kind of surprised by the casting.
Yeah.
And again, who knows? We'll see.
I like
mean,
Vanessa Kirby. I think she's a good choice
Mhm.
for Sue Storm. The kid who played Eddie on Stranger Things, I really like,
Yeah.
and I'm curious to see what kind of energy he brings to it.
Yeah.
But and then the other guy from The Bear, I'm not too familiar with. But
Yeah.
really,
I'm
Pedro
not-
Pascal is
yeah.
the only one that I'm like, I love Pedro Pascal, but do I love him as Reed Richards? Not particularly.
Yeah.
And my issue too, when they're trying to make a big deal of bringing the Fantastic Four in, but I'm like, what do they have to bring to the MCU that you really need them for? We've already had 2 failed movies. You could argue about the origin story. So like kind of like a Spider-Man. People probably know it a little bit by now. Maybe don't do that. Jump straight to having them already have their powers.
Mhm.
And then who do they bring in villain-wise? To bring like Doctor Doom and Galactus.
Well, they say
So-
Doctor Doom is
yeah.
going to appear at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
And they're also saying that Doctor Doom is going to he's going to take over the role that Kang was supposed to do. Because
which is fine.
we've had a big reshuffling in more recent times with Jonathan Majors being convicted and being removed from, you can't have the Kang dynasty without Kang, unless
Yeah.
they want to recast Kang.
Yeah.
I think having Doctor Doom, if they do proper comic book Doctor Doom,
Yeah.
would be a fantastic choice,
Mhm.
no pun intended, for a main villain, because he's not just a Fantastic Four villain. He is like a
And-
big
villain.
time.
MCU villain, yeah.
Yeah, and having Galactus come in at some point with the Silver Surfer. There's all these rumors that Anna Taylor-Joy is going to play the Silver Surfer as a
Oh,
gender swap. I hate gender swapping for comic books and for any character. Like there are so many strong female and male characters, and I know we're in a time where that's not whatever. That's
Yeah,
politics. That's MF Uncensored talk.
Yeah.
But for me, like the Silver Surfer was always Norrin Rad, who was
Yeah.
this guy who's like
Yeah.
trying to protect his family. Like, why?
And you could pick other heralds. Galactus has heralds of both
Oh, yeah.
genders. So you don't necessarily, you could have, yes, you could have just stuck with somebody, pick a different character,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. And I like Anna Taylor-Joy. I think she would have been a great Sue Storm if they
Yeah,
if they
She
cast
in the-
younger.
I think she was in the running.
She
I heard
was,
her
yeah.
name, yeah.
Yeah. But moving on, Madam Web, it sucked. It bombed. It did terrible this past weekend. It was his first
Did we
weekend.
expect anything different?
But you know what? It's funny because like Sydney Sweeney's in it, and I like her. She would have been a very good Sue Storm.
Mhm.
But she talks about how much fun she just had doing the movie, and I think when I
You
finally
can have
sit,
fun making a movie. Doesn't mean it's gonna be good.
when I finally sit down and watch it, I want to just go in with a fun lens. But if it's as long as it's better than Morbius, because that's the lowest bar
Yeah.
at this point. Morbius is the lowest set bar. I don't think Madam Web is going to hit that, but there are rumors that it's going to get some sort of cult following. Like that's
Yeah.
the rumblings online.
That's what it feels like. Yeah.
But we are going to talk about now, getting into the actual topic, a movie that Brendan doesn't like.
I no. I didn't say I didn't like the movie. I was talking about the actor.
So we are starring, what year is this movie, Sean?
94, 30th anniversary this year.
30 years ago, 1994, a time where Jim Carrey reigned supreme. And
Still does.
Still does. What's the last movie he did? Jim Carrey. I don't think he's done anything recently.
Yes, he
Last one I
has.
could think of was the Kick-Ass 2 movie, but I think
He's done something.
Sonic the Hedgehog.
Oh, yeah.
That was his return to form.
And really good as Eggman. Yeah.
Yeah. So
You're
we
welcome,
are.
everyone.
Yeah, thank you. You're welcome. We were talking about 1994's The Mask. Now, The Mask is based off of, I forget which comic book property, but it is vastly different than the comic books. In the comic books, The Mask is more of an agent of chaos, and he is just there to mess up the world.
Mhm.
In this, he plays more of an anti-hero type, but he's also like he doesn't help anyone in this movie.
No.
No.
Like, I'm trying to think, does he save anyone in this movie?
No, he just makes them all into cartoon characters.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's the second movie, which we'll talk about in a second. But Jim Carrey stars as Stanley Ipkiss, who finds a magical mask powered by the god Loki.
Yep.
Of all, and it's funny now, like looking back, we're talking Norse Loki, not MCU Loki.
Yeah.
That would be a fun little
Yeah, right.
crossover type thing, though, at some point. And the mask is something that brings out your innermost person, the person that you suppress, or like your true self.
Mhm.
So for Stanley, it brings out his. They do a lot of talk about like your id and your ego and the super ego and all that stuff. It brings out his repressed side. He's a very timid, meek, nice guy, and he like nice guys finish last for him. And he's always letting people kind of walk all over him. He's got a terrible like landlady who yells at him, and like he talks like crap behind her back because he can't say it to her face. And when he gets the mask, it turns him into this playboy, womanizer, superpowered being, and it's where Jim Carrey with his rubber face shines. Like watching that transition from Stanley Ipkiss to the mask is always awesome. So Sean, we're going to go to you first because you are the cinematic guy. What are your initial thoughts on Jim Carrey's The Mask?
The Mask was always kind of on the low end for me on the Jim Carrey movies. I don't remember watching it a lot as a kid. I really got into it more as I got older. I can't explain why, because it's kind of a movie that I feel like I would have loved as a kid. It's basically a live action cartoon, and he hits it out of the ballpark. I mean, he's the perfect casting for this movie. I mean, it's just like there's no one else who can pull off that role. As a movie itself, as a whole, I mean, it's not great. I mean, he carries the movie. Other than that, the movie really probably would fall apart without him. But it's a snapshot into when Jim Carrey, 3 movies in 1 year. This, Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, and Dumb and Dumber, all in the same calendar year. I mean, guy he was on fire at that time.
Now let's go from somebody saying nice things to Jim Carrey to somebody who would probably not say some nice things about Jim Carrey. Brendan, what are your thoughts on The Mask?
I know I enjoyed The Mask when I saw it when I was a young kid. I thought it was a fun movie. Again, it's another MacGuffin superhero kind of thing where you get it's magical thing that gives me, and Mask just seemed kind of cool. Magical thing that also he has these superpowers, and it was zany. It had the dance numbers. It was, like you said, a live action cartoon. I do remember enjoying this as a kid. Not usually a fan of the humor that usually goes with Jim Carrey. So there probably might be 1 or 2 of these if I were to rewatch the movie recently, I'd be like cringing at, because that's just how I am, as you all well know.
That's fair.
But no, I think this was I had fun watching the movie when I was a kid, and I'd probably rewatch it. Like, if you could ask me, Brendan, which Jim Carrey comedy would you watch? And you mentioned this one, it's probably the only one I would pick.
All right.
That's about Anchorman 2.
Shut up, Anchorman 2.
I don't think that's a Jim Carrey movie.
He has a 4-minute cameo. Stop
So
it.
that is not his movie. That's a cameo.
All right, Ronnie, what are your thoughts on The Mask?
I think it's great. I think it's a great movie. Obviously the big talk is Jim Carrey, but also Peter Green, I think, does a great job in it too as the bad guy.
Cameron Diaz.
First film appearance, not including her adult tape.
Anywho.
She had an adult tape?
And then you also have Max.
The dog. Max the dog.
Max the dog.
So it's funny because a lot of characters wear the mask in this movie. You have Stanley Ipkiss, you have Dorian, and you have the dog.
Yeah.
I still remember the dog. The trailer, this got to be a new breed. And I will say about this movie, the effects hold up surprisingly well. I think it helps that because the mask is green, it makes it easier for them to do green screen effects.
Yeah.
And Jim Carrey just throws so much into it. Like the shot where he changes into the wolf face, and then it pulls back right back to him. It's seamless and it looks fantastic still. All of his spins and all that stuff, like the effects really hold up. The dog too. Like there are some moments where it's kind of like,
but it's because it's a dog.
It's a dog.
Like that's the thing. Like with Jim Carrey too, is he can just make those faces naturally. You don't even need to CGI his face. So like the fact that you have him who can do that with his face. So like you said, when he snaps back from, you know, the wolf or whatever, coyote, whatever it is, you know, like you can tell like that's him like kind of, you know, changing his face to go along with it instead of having to do too much editing.
I mean, even just they had to put in the fake teeth and all that
Yeah.
stuff. And, you know, they do a couple of musical numbers where he's moving a lot. Like he put all of it. And say what you will about Jim Carrey. I know, you know, I'm not even like,
I know
I'm
you're
not,
not.
busting chops. He is not everybody's cup of tea, and that's fine.
Mhm.
But any role that he's in, he always gives 1,000%. Even Kick-Ass 2, where he's only in it for like 15 minutes total. Like he's still a highlight of the movie. And for me, like this was my Jim Carrey movie growing up. Ace Ventura was fine. I didn't watch Dumb and Dumber until I was much older. I don't know why. I just didn't. And it's a very different kind of humor. This was one of my first, I never even realized it, one of my first comic book movies that I ever watched. And I love it. It's such a fun time. And I still quote it. Like it's still super quotable. Like I used to do the "Look, Mom, roadkill" all the time, you know, under weird circumstances.
Like, I could just witness your mother being like, "Stop that."
Well, we were 7 when this movie came out.
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't allowed to say smoking. I was not allowed to say that.
Okay.
That was during the big push against cigarettes.
Oh,
in the
yeah.
90s. But for me, like this movie, again, he's not a superhero in this. He makes the joke about being a superhero before he takes 2 giant car parts and performs a colonoscopy.
Yeah.
But like it deals with a lot of adult things. It's a very mature superhero or comic book movie. I can't even say superhero movie. And for me, like I never read the comics, but you know, it also came out with a TV show eventually, and then the sequel, which we're going to talk about in a second, because the sequel was directly impacted by the TV show, which was a product of the movie.
Mhm.
But before we do that, Ronnie, Star City rating on the original Mask.
I'm gonna go 4.
4 is the solid.
Yeah.
It's a solid good time.
Yeah,
I love it.
I think it's, you know, it has like those moments where it is super quotable.
Mhm.
And then again, it's Jim Carrey to me. He's one of my favorite actors. In everything he does, I do love all his work. Obviously, comedy is his strong suit, but he is
Does some good
very good
dramatic
stuff as well. And it was just this movie came so far out of left field, and it's unlike any movie we've ever seen, including its terrible, terrible, terrible sequel.
Brendan, Star City rating for The Mask.
I give it a 3.5.
That is above average.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. So again, it's a fun movie. It's enjoyable. My memory's a little shaky on everything about it, but no, I remember watching as a kid. It's a good, enjoyable movie. Is it perfect? Probably not, but I definitely, if you put this on, you're not going to be disappointed.
Fair. Sean?
Before I give my Star City rating, I found some interesting tidbits about
yeah.
the production. So the production began back in 1989 when the Dark Horse Comics, who owned the
Dark
rights
Horse.
to,
That was it. It was Dark Horse.
to The Mask, they first approached New Line about adapting the character into a movie. And one idea that was unused was to transform the story into one about a mask maker who took faces off of corpses to put them on teens and turn them into zombies.
Oh, it's very
Like
fan-
a horror
friendly.
movie?
Yeah. So initially they were trying to turn it into a horror franchise.
Yeah.
They hired the director, Chuck Russell, and he found the violence to be off-putting, and he wanted the movie to be more family friendly. And obviously Jim Carrey was known from In Living Color. They watched a lot of his stand-up, and that's how they ended up on him. But other actors who were in the running were thought of were Rick Moranis, Martin Short, Robin Williams. So yeah, I thought that was
only
interesting.
out of those 3. Ron Williams is probably
Well, who's the first one?
Martin Short would have been interesting.
I would have actually liked Rick Moranis as it, because like he would play a very good Stanley Ipkiss. I'm not sure how he would do as the actual.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like,
But for Star City rating for me, I gotta give it 3.5.
All right, that's fair. Speaking of the violence, did you ever see the deleted scene?
No.
So Peggy, the newspaper girl who like betrays him, after she betrays him, Dorian takes her and throws her into the newspaper press, and the newspapers come down covered in blood, and it's pictures of her like crushed, and it's like tomorrow's headline. They deemed it a little too graphic because you never see what happens to that character.
Yeah.
She just kind of takes her money and leaves.
Yeah.
Which I don't think Dorian will let anybody do. I love this movie. I still can put it on if it's ever on TV, which is a rarity. I'll watch it. I give it a 4. It is just a good time. I think
I think that's the best way to say it. It's a good time.
and it's aged exceptionally well.
yeah.
Now let's talk about a movie that has done none of those things correctly, and that is Son of the Mask.
Son of
Because
a Mask.
Are you honestly the only one here that's seen this movie?
I have.
You've seen it?
thank God.
Unfortunately.
So Son of the Mask, they talked about a sequel for a long time. Jim Carrey, they never found a script that Jim Carrey actually like wanted. So the story is the mask finds its way out of Edge City. They do address, Edge City and all that. And the guy the Ben Stein's character makes a cameo in the beginning as the
Yes,
museum
he was
curator.
in the original.
And in this movie, the character Loki, played by Alan Cummings, which again you would think great casting. Bob Hoskins as Odin, again, great casting. Loki's on Earth trying to find the mask to stop all the chaos that it's causing. Okay, I'm with you in the story so far. Like that's actually a solid premise that they're doing. It sucked though. It's oh god, they started off solid in like the first minute, and then it just oh god.
And then Jamie Kennedy walks onto the screen, and you're just like,
So Jamie Kennedy takes the main role in this. I don't even remember the guy's name. No, Albie's the name of the kid. Is anybody looking this up as
What guy?
Jamie Kennedy. Who does he actually? What's his
Tim
name?
Avery.
Tim Avery.
Yeah.
So Tim Avery is a cartoonist, and he's the man child, which doesn't work. I'm sorry. Like it's stupid.
Yeah.
His dog finds the mask and brings it to him.
Otis.
Yep, Otis, because they have to do another dog. The dog puts on the mask several times during this. So basically, he puts on the mask while Loki's still looking for it. And after a terrible song and dance number and an even worse wig, because they have to make him look different.
Yeah.
So when he puts on the mask, he gets orange hair.
Yeah.
And it is so bad. He looks like Ronald McDonald's cousin that they just don't talk about anymore. So while wearing the masks, while wearing the mask, he conceives with his wife. Yeah. Because she doesn't know he's wearing a mask because he comes in with the lights off. This movie was rated PG.
Yeah.
But they snuck this one in. And apparently one snuck by the gate too, because then 9 months later, she gives birth to the worst CGI cartoon baby of all time. And I put that next to the Twilight baby. It is rough. The effects were not where they wanted them to be. And basically it turns into a terrible live action cartoon. Like terrible, like horrifically terrible, where the baby is born, Albie is born with the powers of the mask, but he's a human baby. So like every time they do effects, it's just jarring. The Mandela effect is not Mandela effect. What's the Uncanny Valley? Thank you. Yeah. Is rough. And basically the baby doesn't like his dad. He only likes the mom, and the mom has to go away for like business or something like that. So like the baby's torturing the dad, like torturing Jamie Kennedy, which in all honesty, if you just watch the Jamie Kennedy Experience, that's torture enough.
I forgot about that show.
Yeah, that was a big one for a while.
Oh my God. That just unlocks some core memories.
But then like the baby and the dad, they put aside their differences because a 3-month-old baby can do that. Ronnie, you have an 8-month-year-old baby. Like, have you had
8-month-year-old?
Yeah, you heard me. I'm so tired. But like, have you guys had major disagreements that you had to reconcile within the course of a movie yet?
All the time.
All the time. Oh,
all
see,
the time.
I don't know.
Yeah,
supernatural powers aside. Like, but so, and then, like the dog's obviously jealous of the new baby because it's getting all the attention. So they do a bunch of scenes like very Tom and Jerry type cartoony.
Yeah.
It's very cartoony. Like this would have worked better as a cartoon in all honesty. And that's still not saying much. Yeah. But like they reconcile. He gives the mask back to Loki, who at first was like a good guy, then he was a bad guy, then he was a good guy again. And like then he wanted to hang out with the baby because the baby could do all the powers. It's just bad. It's horrifically bad. Like the first movie though made all that money.
What's crazy too is the fact that this movie came out 11 years after. So
which is a bad sign to begin
you would
with.
think, all right, 11 years more of technology, everything should improve, those looks and everything.
Bigger budget.
And big budget.
Yeah.
84 million, 100 million for a movie back in 2005 is still a decent budget.
And you just completely shit the bed with this movie.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
it's bad.
Like what's crazy too is like you're doing such a cartoony look to the whoever's wearing the mask, with the exception of the baby, because the baby never wears the mask. It just has the powers of the mask. But it's just so cartoony looking. But then you mix live action, like you have with the wife. Whenever it's like it looks completely different, which obviously it is, but we've seen it before where you're able to kind of blend cartoon with reality into one type of thing, in the same shot, and it looks normal. Yeah. And here it's just, it's great, especially Otis. Like
the dog,
the dog looks like completely different.
At least like the dog in the first movie, he still acted like a dog.
Yeah.
Like in this, and he's like tiptoeing around. He's like planting dynamite.
He has the one where he's trying to he Mission Impossible's towards the baby,
Yeah.
or whatever, and like he shoots the bow and arrow up onto the wall and
So stupid.
is able to propel down. It's like,
For me, though, I think the biggest challenge with this movie is they wanted to make another Jim Carrey movie without Jim Carrey. I liked in the first movie, the mask was dependent on who put it on.
Yeah.
So Stanley Ipkiss and Dorian Tyrell were totally different characters.
Yeah.
So when they put on the mask respectively, it changed them in different ways. Like we're all sitting in this room right now, and we're all similar guys in most capacities. We have similar tastes, similar interests, you know, all those things. If I were to put on the mask, it would be very different than if Ronnie put on the mask. All right. Same thing, Brendan, Sean, like whatever it was. In fact, that'd be a fun night. Like,
we'll all just take turns.
Like that would be like just a good time.
Yeah.
And the fact is they wanted this to be a Jim Carrey movie. And I can see that they wanted like Stanley Ipkiss is living out in the suburbs with Cameron Diaz's character, and then they have a baby.
Yeah.
That's why they cast Jamie Kennedy, because he was the cheap Jim
Yeah.
He was
Carrey.
the Wish version of Jim Carrey.
He was supposed to end up being like Jim Carrey.
Yeah, he was
the way
kinda,
he started, and the
I mean,
way, you know, Hollywood and
was
everything tried to
funny.
propel his career. Like, you know, he was a good stand-up comedian,
Mhm.
and then he
Had a memorable
moved,
role in a horror
Yeah.
franchise that really propelled him into
Mhm.
doing comedic things.
and then
this
he
movie
just kinda
absolutely
fell off.
destroyed his career.
Oh, this movie
Other than-
ruined his career.
I still stand by it, as we talked off air. Malibu's Most Wanted.
Well, I think that came out right before it, and
Yeah.
I think that movie has a cult following.
Yeah, it
I
does,
think
Yeah.
you know that movie's actually watchable.
Yeah.
I still like kicking it old school. Maria Menounos. But anyway, so I'm going to Star City rating this. I mean, Ronnie, you and I are the only ones that can. I'm going to give it a 2, and that's being generous.
I was leaning between a 1.5 and a 2.
I would. All right, you ready, Sean?
Yeah.
This is being recorded. I'm going to say this.
All right.
I would rather watch Batman and Robin than watch Son of the Mask.
That tells you how
Yes.
bad this movie is.
Oh my
For
God.
Paul to admit that.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it.
It's without a doubt.
The cartoon show is
to
better.
me,
than this.
like Batman and Robin is a million times better than this movie.
Oh, it's
Which is
Batman and Robin. Like,
Batman and Robin is a classic movie.
all right. Don't take more than what I said, okay? I don't appreciate it. But
Cool
I mean,
body.
you guys haven't seen Son of the Mask, so
No.
yeah. Oh.
You're lucky.
Thank you.
That would be a drunk commentary ish.
Especially since you guys haven't seen it. Yes.
I mean, I would do that. Yeah, that would be interesting.
All right. Well, that is going to wrap us up, though, for today.
Oh, do we have a
Fan Feedback Friday. I
Okay,
got it.
good.
All right. And because we did discuss it, X-Men 97 is coming out. What is another show? I should have put superhero cartoon, but I just put cartoon.
Yeah,
so I got
yeah.
some fun answers. What is a cartoon that you would like to see revitalized from an earlier period? So we have Spider-Man, the animated series,
Boring.
Fantastic Four, Rocket Power. Shut up, Ronnie. Gargoyles. Brendan, did you have one?
I think I like the Gargoyles comment Sean made.
Oh, okay. All right. So we'll leave it at that. But if you guys want to participate in Fan Feedback Friday, it's super easy. Just go to our Facebook page every Friday between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time-ish. You'll find Fan Feedback Friday. And while you're there, make sure you guys like the page. It helps us out. It helps out the show. Don't forget, also, all of our episodes will now be coming out on Fridays. It just makes it a little bit easier for us and a little bit more consistent. And we love you guys. So we want to do more for you. More. We love you. More. Like, comment, subscribe.
Some more what?
Some more what? Some more things that we can do is also go to our website, themisfitfaction.com. You can also find us on all the social media. We're on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook. Just type in the Multiverse Fancast or the Misfit Faction, and odds are you'll find some of our stuff. If you want more Brendan in your life, because who wouldn't, check out BlindBat8719 on YouTube for all your Magic the Gathering wants and needs and questions that you might have. If you want more Ronnie, don't. If you want some more, some more Sean, make sure you guys check out Cinematic Adventures. He and I break down movies, and we just did a huge episode with all 4 of us for both of our shows, and we can't wait to share that with you guys. But I think that is going to wrap us up for today. As always, I'm Paul.
I'm Ronnie.
I'm Brendan.
And I'm Sean.
And I will see you guys in a flash.